What up, YouTube? So today we're gonna be showing you how to swap pretty much a K20 A2 swap into any chassis, and or basically the Honda chassis, EG, DC, EK, EF, all the basic needs you need to get the car running as cheap as possible with the stock parts that we have. If you pretty much have a crashed RSX, you crashed RSX, and you just want to get the car swap back into another chassis without having to spend a lot of money. So we're pretty much just going to go over the basics is that. So first thing you're obviously going to need, if you're doing an EG chassis or something, so we got some Osias mounts. There's all kinds of different mounts you can actually get for different chassis, especially for the Honda. So these are the cheapest ones. They're like $200. You can get innovative. Those are like $300. You can get Hasport. Those are like $500. Either way, you need mounts to drop the motor in. So that's the first thing for sure. Next thing is actual fuel setup. So this is another Osias product. Not that I'm like sponsored by them or anything. They just actually have decent product for the price. This is a fuel regulator, and it comes with the gauge and everything, pretty much. And it actually has stainless lines under here as well to help with the swap and everything. So you get that as well. So you need a fuel regulator because on the stock D series and B series engines, the fuel regulator is actually on the fuel rail on the engine. And on the RSXs and EP3s, FG2s, FA5s, or whatever, they all have them inside of the tank. So unless you're actually using the tank from the actual car, you're going to need a fuel pressure regulator. So these are like a $60, $70 kit or whatever. Next thing is your ECU management. So this is the stock ECU, and this is the actual immobilizer and key. So you need these together in order for this ECU to run without kpro. If you did not get this with your swap, or you got a swap, you can get the immobilizer delete. K-Tuner actually sells that for about $160. So this is a 02 to 04 ECU. If you use 05 to 06, you have to use the 05 to 06 ECU, or you can use a jumper harness from 05 to 06 to jump back. So there's different ways you can do it, variations, but this is just if you have a complete 02 to 04 swap. It's pretty much bolt on. You don't have to do anything except wire in the blue wire. So I'll kind of explain that as best I can. There's a power wire, which is this red and white one. This yellow black one's a power, so I usually wire those together. And then there's a blue orange one, I believe, which is this one, I believe. And that one goes to the E-plug, and that'll let the ECU know that everything's tied together and the motor will start. So fuel, mounts, and ECU. Next thing we need to do is our pulley system. So if everything was pretty much factory, which it is, you can run your power steering, but most people don't. So this is I know this is broken, but I just want to give you an example. This is a EP3 FG2 FA5 pulley pretty much. So from 02 to 2011, they all had this idler pulley. You don't need to get the K-Tune one. You don't have to get aftermarket. You can just get a stock one. I recommend factory if you can, because they last up to like 100,000 miles at least. Aftermarket stuff goes out a lot faster. Not saying that they're not good parts. If you want to be reliable, try to stick to factory as much as possible. So I usually just get an EP3 pulley, and on the K20s I use a 50.5-inch belt, and on K24 it's a 52-inch belt that I use with this pulley. So yeah, so that's our pulley system is pretty much done. As far as axles and everything, so we obviously can use the stock half shaft. You can use the 36mm axles from the Acura Rsx, but you're gonna have to swap your hubs, and it's a little bit more stuff you have to do to it, so it kind of becomes a little bit more expensive. So what I recommend is just get the base model RSX Type S, or I mean the base model Acura Rsx axles. They bolt right on for at least 88 to 2000 Civic swaps, or Integra as well. So yes, you can also use EP3 half shaft, O2 to 05. You can use FG2 FA5, 06 to 11. You can use base model all RSX stick only, and that's pretty much anything much K20 swap. That's manual will work. So now let's go to the shifter. I use stock, obviously, cables. Now this isn't the stock box. This is actually an Accord Euro R shifter box, because I like the way this one actually, it just sits down and you just cut like a notch inside and it sits down there flush, and it clears the console. You can use the stock one, you can get aftermarket bolt-in ones. It all really depends on your budget. I rather just stick to the stock and just get the car running, which is pretty much what I'm explaining about this video. Just get the car actually running. You can upgrade everything else later. As far as, like I said, engine harness, this is a 02 to 04, so you don't have to do anything. 05, 06, they don't really make as many conversion harnesses out there, so you have to actually make sure it's 05, 06. Other than that, you can get jumper harnesses if you have a 05, 06 to 02 to 04 if you want. It all depends on your setup. As far as intakes, you can use stock or any aftermarket type of piping or whatever. Just make sure you have a sensor for the intake air temperature sensor. As far as radiator hoses, you can use stock ones and just cut them to fit, or you can get aftermarket ones as well. One problem that happens on these motors is the starters do go out. So if you find any type of K20 starter or K24 starter, they most likely will work. The only thing that's really different is the starter signal plugs. So sometimes on the K24 they're square plugs, and these ones they're just like a actual like male fitting. So if you're in need of a starter, they're pretty much all the same. As far as clutch pedal, if you check out my bar video, I've actually used a combination between the RSX line. If you actually have the RSX, you can use part of it with the EG or DC EK swap. You don't need this actual line. I bought this line because they're only like 30-40 bucks, and it makes it look a lot cleaner. So that's one thing. So you have your clutch line, your brake booster line. You can just use your factory stock one. And then as far as throttle cable, you can use the factory RSX one as well. It's just longer. You can use the 96 Civic, I believe EX 96 to 2000 throttle cable, as far as if you want a little shorter line, or you can go aftermarket as well. Also with headers, so you can't really use the stock headers from the RSX or anything, but you can use Acura TSX headers, stock factory. I've used those if you want to check out my K20Z3 video. I've also used K24, just stock Accord. They pretty much have a down sloping form. I'll show you guys real fast. Wait, let's see. No, those are all Type S's. Thought I had one around here somewhere. Anyways, the TSX one, oh, they're right here actually. So as you can see, the TSXs, they form down, and you can literally just, if you're gonna get piping done in your car, just have a pipe like 2.5 inch come down, even 3-inch piping, and you'll be good. I've done it before on a couple cars. So if you want to really go budget, you can just use a factory TSX manifold and just get the car running, or you can use factory or just some cheap headers from DC from back in the day, or anything you want to use, whatever you want to use to keep it as cheap as possible. Or you can get K-swap header, K-tune headers for like $200, $300. So as far as exhaust, that's done with that. The only other thing you really need is a conversion harness. So with the conversion harness, people are wondering what that is. It pretty much takes the swap and your car and brings everything together on your gauge cluster. So your temperature, your speed, your RPM, everything just comes combined and actually works. Other than that, it's also, I have these. They sell these little kits from K Motors. These are for like your radiator, in case people just don't want to use the factory ones. They give you these, you just drill, and then they give you these little bolts that go, and the plastic go in, and then when you push the bolt in and screw it down, it tightens up inside of the frame. So that's one thing I forgot to show you. Other than that, if you guys have questions, you can always hit me up at Instagram, which is rarewitted_, and you can leave a comment. I'll try to answer as quick as possible. Other than that, like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys think. And also one more thing, my bad. Ground. So I usually put a ground. That's literally this is the most important. A ground on the intake manifold, a ground on the side cover, and then I put a ground on the transmission. So those are the last things that you would need to have the swap complete. So like I said, if you guys have any questions, just hit me up. I'll see you guys next time.